Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of The Blind Spot with Randy. How are you all doing? Before I move on with the show, you know how I always do. I want to say thank you to everybody. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the messages, right? I appreciate them. And please, keep watching, keep referring it to someone, tell someone to tell someone to tell someone. My YouTube page, The Blind Spot with Randy, one word. Watch my videos. Like I said, you could also play to, because we all have younger ones around us. We all have kids. We all have these guys that are really aspiring to become professionals, right? You can also play the videos for them, or you can also ask them to watch this video because it would guide them. It would help them, and also they can also follow me. They can also reach out to me for anything that has to do with football. Remember, the show, it's The Blind Spot with Randy, and it talks about everything football and the realm of reality, right? Because in anything I do, I try to be realistic, right? I try to be realistic. So yeah, so we're not just going to talk about football and how football is so nice and good and rosy. Not just that. We'll also focus on the blind spot, right, in the world of football that people don't really talk about or you don't get to hear about, right? So once again, thank you everybody for everything. Welcome to another episode on The Blind Spot with Randy. I appreciate you all. Yeah. So today, right, before we move on, like before we kick into the show today, right, I want to read certain things, right? Because today's topic is about the grassroots coaches, right? That's today's topic, and so let me give you the topic in just one word: training compensation, and how it affects grassroots football or the development of football in continents, right? Okay, let me talk about training compensation. So the first time I heard this word, mind you, in my whole years of playing football, doing everything, I've never heard this term, training compensation, before, right? The first time I heard this term, training compensation, was last year when I had a course, right? When I had an agent course, and it came up. Ever since, I've been wondering, wow, so this is a thing? Training compensation? It's more like a must. It's more like a must, right? And then I since then I have just been somehow restless because I've never heard it before. Nobody has mentioned in any way. I don't think some people are, maybe some are benefiting from it, but the main guys that really need to get this, I'm talking about the grassroots coaches down there at the bottom of the chain. Are they really getting this? Do they even know about this? Right? So training compensation, right? I'm going to read from a FIFA article, right? This is FIFA, right? And so, okay, before I read this, let me say this. So this is they brought this up in 2001, like 2001. That's when they started this whole training compensation thing, right? I'm reading from lombardi.football.com, right? It's okay. It says in 2001, following the famous Bosman ruling, FIFA introduced the training compensation system, which would apply to clubs who were involved in the training and education of young players. Since 2001, FIFA introduced this training compensation to clubs involved in a player's training and education, right? At that age, at a younger age, right? So I'm going to go ahead to break it down. So let me read now from FIFA article directly, right? So this is article 20, right? Article 20 of the FIFA regulation, right, on the status of transfers of players. If you could go say and I'm just going to read briefly and just go through everything. So it say, training compensation shall be paid to a player's training clubs. 1. When a player signs his first contract as a professional. And 2. Each time a professional is transferred until the end of the season of his 23rd birthday. Full stop. Now let me break down what this means, right? A player, right? The first time a player is meant to sign a professional contract is at the age of 18, right? So let's say a player has been with a club. Definitely, every young player, every player I see today, they've been with a club from when they were even like, some of them 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. But here it stays, right, from 13, right? So if a player signs a professional contract at the age of 18, because that's when he's meant to sign his first professional contract, he signs at the age of 18, right? The club that signs him would have to pay training compensation to the club where the player has been, right, from the age of 13 till that moment. So they're going to pay, like, this is like how many years now, right? They would calculate everything, and the whole thing is there. If you go to this article 20.5, you read everything and read through. If you also go online and check this information, you will see how it is there, right? I will just break down and talk about, not because I really can't go into everything, right? So yeah, and then this will go on from 18 to when the player turns 23, right? Okay, let's say from 18, right? He gets to 19 and he does well in his first season with the club that signed him firstly, right? He does well 18, 19, and then 20. And another club comes to sign him. The clubs that comes to sign him will also pay that club and also pay the one of which he was when he was 13, right? So you see, it's going to go on like that till he turns 23. That's when this compensation ends, right? That's it. That's what it means. So let me go ahead with what I'm reading. So the obligation to pay training compensation arises whether the transfer takes place during or at the end of the player's contract. The provisions concerning training compensation are set out in Annex 4 of these regulations. The principles of training compensation shall not apply to women's football. I don't know why you say it apply, but that's not. I'm not here to talk about that one. So let me focus on my this thing. All right. So let me go to Article 20 to say this one says the solidarity mechanism, right? Say, if a professional is transferred before the expiry of his contract, any club that has contributed to his education and training shall receive a proportion of the compensation paid to his former club. It is called solidarity contribution. The provisions concerning solidarity contribution are set out in Annex 5 of these regulations. Okay. Now I'm talking about training compensation, and I think I've been able to just give you an idea of what this means. Training compensation. I know over here there's objective, there's the payment of training compensation, there's responsibility, we have so many, but I don't think I have time to go through this. But let me just read out the objective, right? Or I want to read out something from this article here. From this is from Lombardi/football.com, right? It says how amateur clubs can benefit financially from the transfer of former players who are now employed as professional athletes. Okay. See, at a time when grassroots sport faces more government cutbacks, it is important that amateur clubs have a sound understanding of other streams of revenue open to them that can potentially be used to develop and sustain their organization. Amateur clubs, grassroots clubs, down there clubs that the first clubs all these guys played for down there. This is what he's referring to, right? So in 2001, following the famous Bosman ruling, FIFA introduced a training compensation system which would apply to clubs who were involved in the training and education of young players. The ideology behind the system was to encourage increased and better quality training of young players by awarding compensation to those clubs who had been involved and invested in their training and education. At the same time, FIFA also introduced the solidarity mechanism system, which provides for compensation to former clubs who have provided training and education to a player. So each time the player is transferred between clubs of two different national associations in exchange for a transfer fee. I mean, I've tried to say what this means, right? So, like I said, if the player is 18 and he has signed his professional contract at the age of 18, right? Club A signs player, which name should I use? Club A signs Ogniti, right? Ogniti is the player. For example, let's use Ogniti. Club A signs Ogniti at 18 years, right? If Ogniti stays with Club A for 1 year, and then the next year he does really well, right? And another Club B comes to sign Ogniti, and Ogniti moves to Club B. At that time, Ogniti will be like 19 or 20, right? So the Club B that signs Ogniti will pay training compensation to this club, right? Club A, and also pay to the club that Ogniti has been from when he was 13 till 18 years. So the club that's responsible for his training and education. Mind you, Club A also is still responsible for his training and education, right? Because he's still 18, and then from 18 till 23. So if Ogniti moves from Club B to Club C and Club D till he turns 23, they're still going to be paying training compensation to these clubs that he has played for. That's it. Now let me go ahead to read the objectives, right? Because when people do things, right, when things are being put in place, it's for a reason, right? And I believe and I know that the reason why FIFA did this, like I said, I've read it out. It's just to encourage clubs. It's just like to develop football in countries, right? That's just the sole motive behind this whole training compensation scheme. That's what it is. So now let me go ahead to read the objective, right? 1. Say a player's training and education takes place between the ages of 12 and 23. Full stop. Training compensation shall be payable, as a general rule, up to the age of 23 for training incurred up to the age of 21, unless it is evident that the player has already terminated his training period before the age of 21. In the latter case, training compensation shall be payable until the end of the season in which the player reaches the age of 23. Let's not get confused. We're still talking about training compensation, nasty one, all this. I won't read too much to. I mean, you can go online and read. But I'm just trying to focus on training compensation payable, right? So now let me go to the payment of training compensation. Training compensation is due when a player is registered for the first time as a professional. A player is registered for the first time as a professional, or a professional is transferred between clubs of two different associations, whether during or at the end of his contract, before the end of the season of his 23rd birthday. Now, a player is registered for the first time as a professional. That is when immediately a player is registered. Immediately they sign player, paperwork, they fly everything. Once that association with that player did, that country with that player did, the association, once they don't register that player, palm like this, make the club, right? Make the club where the player don't day when in day 13 till that, make they just begin they all the swell up because they will pay that money. That is for sure. Now they need to start reaching out. This compensation, it definitely will be paid, right? Will be paid. Now let's go to the responsibility to pay training compensation. It says on registering as a professional for the first time, the club with which the player is registered is responsible for paying training compensation within 30 days of registration to every club with which the player has previously been registered. You see, 30, once they register you like this, between 30 days like this, they don't pay that money. They don't pay them. The money don't supposed to go and everything. So that's it. There's no debate. There's no one thing. What you see? All right. Let me just stop here. Right. Let me stop here and let me get to where I'm going to today. Training compensation. Now the big question: how many of these clubs? Do not forget the word that was mentioned in one of these with amateur. The no talk say prefer. It might not be amateur, right? We use grassroots also. How many of these clubs? How many of these coaches get training compensation for players? Let me narrow it down, right? Let me narrow it down. The coaches, the clubs, right? The coaches, let's say the coaches in Orile, the coaches in Ajegule, the coaches in Kirikiri, the coaches in Festac, the coaches in one club for Enugu or for Imo, for Owerri, for Bayelsa, for every those places where some of these are players, right? Where some players come out from, like these clubs, right? Grassroots clubs where these players where they came out from, right? From even for North, for Kaduna, for Kanu, for Jos, Abuja, play all these clubs there, all these places, and players there, all these places, all these players we don't from all these local teams, we don't make move, right? That had gone from local teams and moved abroad, because like I say, not every of these players played professionally in Nigeria, right? Because I know some deals and some agents and some people, it's when you play professional and then it's like, okay, you're on this pedestrian and then it's smooth. Like some players went from local clubs to Europe. Trust me, I know 1, I know 2, I know 3, I know 4. Some players went from grassroots teams playing for one local club for area, for one team, from club from Maracana, from Navy, right? From Igbo Feed, from San Siro, from where all these places, players from there don't go Europe, sign professional contract, right? Even if it don't be first team or at least second team at least, but they are in that. All I'm trying to say, did any of these teams at this level get training compensation? That's what I'm trying to say. That's my point. That's where I'm heading. Because I say like since I heard about this whole training compensation scheme and everything, then I asked myself like, wow. Sure, these coaches they get them. Sure, these coaches they even know say things like this day. Sure, they get them. Eh? This is one big question, right? Because this is, like I said, this whole thing was brought out for football development. This is how you develop football in places, in countries. This is how you develop football. If this thing happens here and it came out good, you should do it often. You should get more people to come out from that same place often. You put effort, you put resources into it again. Like if you do this deal, it comes out where we want player, and the player goes abroad and he signs and he gets. You have to keep whatever spoils you get from that deal. You have to take a chunk, not maybe a chunk, but just take part of it and you invest. It's business, it's investment. You put it again in another player, and you put it again, and trust me, you create one, and then that's how I know there are one or two people that have this. That there are one or two academies in Nigeria, right? And this whole thing of an academy in Nigeria, only a few people have an academy in Nigeria. Only very few. But maybe now they are beginning to spring up, because I think they've seen how it's been done. They've seen what is involved in it. But I'm not even talking about these whole academy people setting up academy right now and trying to claim all these things. I'm talking about those coaches where they ground, where they bottom, when no get means to say them won't go set up academy. You know how you want to set up a club, like you go the paper and everything. Those ones where they grab it, say they just players just gather, they train players, they put their time, their energy, their sweat and everything because they don't have any job. Back then when I was playing, so my coaches don't get any work they do not just this, not just they come put their time in there. They come, they spend like 3 hours with you, 4 hours with you, almost every day. These grassroots coaches are one of the people that have spent more time with players than any other person. Anyway, let me just say anyway. Some of them have spent like 5 years with this player, 6, 7 years. So all I'm saying is that what did they get in return for doing this, for this effort, for this sacrifice and everything? Right? Because they were the one that taught these players, put this ball here, do this. Even if we want to say they're not too savvy, but at least they don't teach us. Do this, blah, blah, blah. I've been with a coach, my own coach back there, like I said, shout out to grassroots coaches. Shout out to them. I mean, big up. These guys, they're heroes, uncelebrated heroes. Trust me. Because every player you have out there today playing professional that has made it big, that has gone here and here, they came out from these coaches. They came out from them. And at the end of the day, I mean, some players are really doing well with remembering these coaches and also maybe giving them something. But I'm not talking about you just the give them. So we talk about how the coach go establish and how he go keep that team going and how he go solidify himself in this sport, this thing. That's what I'm talking about. Don't be say Jesse or Monet or Dash or whatever. I mean, some players they even try, they give their coaches houses, cars, and everything. Yeah, that's nice. That's good. But I'm talking about this whole thing of this training competition thing because this is solid. This is a solid base. And like I said, this is how you develop players. Like if these coaches, right, are getting these things, like, and they're doing more of these things, and the people that they pay this whole training competition to, and they giving directly to these guys, and these guys will have to use it to develop the society and everything. Trust me, talent's full Nigeria now. I can't even. Time is yakba. Time is plenty everywhere. Boys see the ball. The boys even day. Some won't even make them to professional self. Some of them play pass one with the professional. Not today. Go everywhere. Players full everywhere. That I don't know where people see they won't play that kind of ball today. But those days, you go feed everywhere. Go here everywhere. Players, right? So like I said, this is just. I just want to. Like I said, since I came across this whole training thing when I was having that course and I was like training competition, and since then I've been like, I really need to talk about this, And trust me, some coaches don't even know this, right? Some don't. And now let's go down to how this thing is being paid, right? They need to just pay them directly. If say, okay, let's say a coach, the train player, right? The train player deal with them.